have WSL installed in your system, let's go over the system preset to check and confirm that you have all the required tools to run the network automation scripts we're going to go over in this series. First up, in your Ubuntu terminal, check if you have SSH pass, SSH, AWK, and grep. To check for these tools, what you do is you type in which, and the tool you want to look at, in this case I'm going to look for SSH, and that confirms that SSH it is installed in my computer, which will allow me secure shell connections to the switches via automation script. And you can run this on all the tools that you need, or you can just write a one-liner and you can include all the tools you want to check, which SSH pass, SSH, AWK, and grep. I hit enter, and this tells me that at least 3 out of 4 are installed. SSH pass has not been installed yet. And what SSH pass does is whenever the script runs, it's going to ask for an IP address, username, and password. And the IP address and username are going to be visible. The password has to be hidden. So SSH pass does what this does. It hides the password from being seen when you're typing it in your terminal. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and install this missing tool. To do that, you type in sudo space apt space install space SSH pass, hit enter, and I'm already logged in as root, so it didn't ask me for the password. But if you have not entered the sudo password before, it's going to prompt you to enter. Once you enter it, then it will go through the process. Okay, and now has installed this tool. So I'm going to run my which command line again. Which SSH pass, SSH, AWK, and grep. And now I can see I have all 4 tools installed. And that is how you can manually install the tools you need to run your network automation scripts. But there's another way, and this is the automated way. So I'm going to write a script that will check for these tools, and if they're not found, it will automatically install them for you. So let's go ahead and do that using bash. And this is a very simple script. What it does is it looks for the tools that you want to install. In this case, I'm going to look for SSH pass, SSH, AWK, and grep. And you can add more tools to this list as you go, or you can replace the existing list altogether. And I'm using Notepad, so I'm going to go ahead and save this file in the folder I'm going to be using for this video series, where I'll have all the scripts that we will be running. Oh, and by the way, you can get a digital copy with all the scripts that we're going to go over this series at thejleal.com. That is thejleal.com. If you go to that website, you're going to see the option of digital downloads. If you click there, it's going to give you the list of all the digital downloads available for you to get. You can download the scripts for this video series now, or you can just watch the whole series. And then after you see how these scripts work, you can go there and download them and use them to practice or to build the scripts in a way that it will work best in your environment. So going back to the script, I'm going to go ahead and save this in a local folder to be able to run it from my Ubuntu terminal. So I'm going to call it automation tool check and install. This is a mouthful. You can call it something simpler than this, but for the purpose of this lab, I'm going to call it like that so I know exactly what it is. And down below where it says save as type, make sure you select all files. And also that the extension has been specified. If for some reason you forgot to specify the extension and you keep it as text document, it's going to save it as a text file, and that is not going to work. It's not going to run, so make sure you have all files. And also at the end of the name, you add the .sh to save it as a bash file. And we're good. Now you have your first script. I'm going to close this out. And then I'm going to prepare my environment to be able to run those scripts. In my Ubuntu terminal, I'm going to type in this command line, cd to change directory, MNT to mount the location where the files are going to be, and the path where the files are. In this case, it's on a C drive, users, Jonathan, bash series, which is the location where I saved the bash file. So I'm going to hit enter. And now, as you can see, my terminal is mounted on that folder. Now you can type in ls, hit enter, and you're going to see that inside that location, there's the script that we're going to run to check and install those tools. Alright, so now that I confirmed that I mounted in the folder I need to be on, and I have checked and confirmed that that bash file exists, I'm going to go ahead and run it and see the results. So I need to run this command line to be able to enable that script on this terminal to be able to run. So it's going to be sed space dash I space single quote s // dollar sign / single quote space and the name of your batch file. And now I hit enter, and now I have activated the script on this terminal to run it. And now to run it is very simple. Now that it's active, all you gotta do is type in period / and the name of your script and hit enter. And make sure when you run this command line, you have the extension for the file. Right now it told me it doesn't exist in the directory when it does, but if I looked at what I ran the name of the script without the period and the extension name. So I'm going to add that, and then I'm going to try to run it again. And there you go. It successfully ran. So it's telling me that SSH pass is already installed, SSH is already installed, AWK and grep, which I knew that they were installed. But what would it look like if one of these are not installed? The idea was to look at what's installed and what the script will do to install it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and uninstall one of these guys. And I'm going to type in the password sudo apt purge SSH pass. And it's going to prompt me to enter the password, the sudo password, and it's being installed. There you go, and it's been uninstalled. I'll run it again to double check. Now let's go ahead and run that script again and see what it tells me now. So period / the name of the script .sh, hit enter. As you can see here, it found that SSH pass was not installed, so it went ahead and automatically installed it. And once it finished install, it checked for the other tools and confirmed that they are installed. So if I try to run this script again, knowing that now SSH pass has also been installed, it should give me the results that all of them are installed. And there you go. It has installed SSH pass for me, and the second time around, it tells me that it's been installed. And that is how you preset your terminal to be able to start running automation scripts. The second script included in this documentation is going to be the count lines in file. And what this is going to do is it's going to count how many lines of code are in this Python file. So I'm going to type in my terminal ls and make sure both files exist. I can see the bash file in the location as well as the test file. Then I'm going to count how many lines of code are in it using this bash script. So now that I know both of the files are there, I'm going to go ahead and load this bash script in the terminal. By typing sed space -i space single quote is / /r dollar sign symbol / single quote space and the file name including the extension. Hit enter. And now that the file has been loaded, I'm going to go ahead and run it. * the file name and hit enter. And it's right there. It's giving me the results. There are 84 lines of code inside that Python script. All right, so I see it's working. Okay, and now that you have made it this far in the series, you have learned how to set up your system, how to set up your environment to run bash programming scripts, and the reason why you need to install the needed tools in your Linux terminal for these programs to run. And now, since you're familiar with all this, let's start doing our work automation, shall we? The following scenario is something you will see or may have already seen in your work environment, and that is having to telnet into switches to make configuration changes or just to manage them. As you know, telnet is not recommended to remote access into your network switches. I've made another video that shows how easy it is to get the username and password from a packet capture when this logs using telnet. I got the link to this video in the description below if you want to go see it after you have completed watching this series. But for now, let's look at the third script included in the digital download for this series. And as you can see, in this lab environment, I have 4 switches. One of them has SSH in it, and the other 3 do not. In an environment like this, it's not hard to log into every switch to find out if SSH is enabled in it or if it's Telnet. But what about if you have more than 3 or 4? What if in your network you have 10, 20, 30, or even 50 switches? That will consume a lot of your time if you have to check every single one of your switches for this. Instead, we can use network automation and let the program do that for us. This is the program that I'll be running to find out which switch has Telnet or SSH enabled in it. And what this program will do is, once it executes, it will ask you for the username and password. It will ask for the user to enter up to 50 IP addresses. These IP addresses can be entered one by one, or you can just copy all IP addresses from a text document and paste them in the terminal directly. Then, after the IP addresses are entered, the script will ping every IP address to check that the switch is active before attempting to connect to it. If the switch is active, it will try SSH first to log into the switch, and if SSH fails, then it will try Telnet. Once the session has been established, the session will be ended and the user will exit the connection to the switch. All the results will be recorded and you will see the information on the screen. And okay, to run the script, I'm going to first load it to activate, and I'm going to hit enter to activate it, and then I'm going to run it. And hit enter, and it's asking for the username and the password. And now that the password has been entered, it's asking for the user to enter up to 50 IP addresses. For this first go around, I'm going to manually enter the IP addresses in this lab. And those IP addresses are 192.168.40.100, 192.168.40.101, 192.168.40.102, 103, and 104. And now I'm going to hit enter one more time. Since I do not have another IP address, I'm going to hit enter again, and the code will execute. So the way I wrote this script is, you don't need to enter all 50 IP addresses or as many IP addresses and then hit enter on empty spaces up to 50 times for the code to execute. If you only have, in this case, I only have 4 IP addresses, if I hit enter twice, the code will execute. That'll make it a lot easier. And now, the first step is pinging all the IP addresses and make sure they're live. And now that has gone through all the steps, it's telling you which switch has SSH enabled and which switch do not. Something else to notice here is, you see how it says host name unknown on the ones that have Telnet enabled, and for the one that has SSH enabled, it gives you the host name of the switch. That was done intentionally on this script to help visualize not just by separating which one has Telnet and which one has SSH. But also another way to double check is the fact that if you see a host name on the results, you know that one has SSH enabled in it. And if you don't see a host name in it and you just have something like unknown, well, you know that's Telnet. Also, 104 doesn't exist in this topology as you can see, but I added the IP address to show what the result is if the switch that you're trying to reach is not accessible. It will tell you also this switch or switches are not reachable. Okay, and now that we have seen how this works by entering the IP addresses manually, let's see how it works if I paste the list of IP addresses directly into the terminal and execute the script. I'm going to clear the screen, and then I am going to run the script again, username and password, and now it's asking for up to 50 IP addresses. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the terminal, left click on the terminal, I'm going to right click, and I'm going to paste all the IP addresses that I have in my list. And as you can see, it worked. And now I'm just going to hit enter and enter, and the code will execute. So this is an easy way. If you have, let's say, 25 or 30 switches, you should not have to type every single IP address one by one. That's time consuming also. So in this case, you just copy paste them once and let the code do its magic. And there you go. We have the same results we had before. It tells me which switch has SSH enabled in it with the host name and the IP address, and it lists the switches that have Telnet enabled in it, which they do not show a host name and provide the IP address, and also the switches or switch in this case that is not active. And as you can see how handy this is, instead of having to log into every single switch manually doing all that thing, it took less than a minute and now you have the information you need. Alright, and that's it for the third script. Let's move on to the fourth one. Before I get into the fourth script, I want to go over an upgrade I did on the third script. After I finished running it, I realized it would have been better to have the script create a text file with the IP addresses of the switches that have Telnet enabled in them, so I can have access to that information right away. So I went back and added a function where after it finds the switches that have Telnet enabled in them, it will create a text file with the IP addresses of these switches, and I'll be able to use that file to run the fourth script. So right now I have a folder where I have the rest of the scripts that I'm going to go over. This is the one that I just updated to add a function where it creates a text file. So I'm going to go ahead and run it again, and you'll see how the file gets created in this folder. And that is something to keep in mind. The location where you're going to run this file from, that's where the text file is going to be saved. So in my terminal, I'm going to type in ls. What I'm looking for is this one, find telnet SSH in switches. So I'm going to go ahead and load the script. Now that it's loaded, I'm going to run it. Now I can add the IP addresses of the switches that I want to check and see if they have Telnet or SSH enabled in them. And I hit enter. And keep in mind, I am stopping the video every time the new checking for the IP address in the switch shows up on the terminal. For time's sake, this takes roughly 5 to 10 seconds per switch on this lab environment. And you can also see I'm on the right hand side on the CML screen. You're going to see that I am logged in on switch 3, and when the script started to run on switch 3, I got this login. And there we go. It went through all the switches. It found that none of them has SSH enabled in them. They all have Telnet enabled in them. And if I look at my folder where the script is saved on, I have the file. If I open this file, I have the information for the switches. So now I don't have to manually type them anymore for these labs. I can just copy paste them from here. Okay, and now that I have this file with the IP addresses, I'm gonna run the fourth script. What the fourth script will do is it will log into the switches and configure the settings to enable SSH, and it will disable Telnet. So I'm gonna clear the screen. In my terminal, I'm gonna type in ls, and I'm looking for this file, enable SSH, disable Telnet. So I'm gonna load that file, and I'm gonna run it. I'm gonna enter the credentials, and now I can use the file that I got from the last script. I copy and paste them on the terminal, hit enter, and let the script run. As you can see, it's going through the switches, logging in and setting things up for me automatically. Alright, and after it's done, it looked for 4 switches from the list, pinged 4 switches, and found that all 4 switches were active. Since all the switches were active, there are no inactive. Number of switches successfully corrected, number of switches not corrected, and number of switches with Telnet connection. And once it gives you all the information, it will give you also the information for the corrected switches. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open another Ubuntu session, and I'm going to try to SSH into one of the switches. Type in SSH, Jaleel, username, at the IP address of the switch, and I'm going to hit enter. And it's going to pop up this message saying that the new key is being generated between your system and the switch in the CML terminal. I'm going to type in yes to accept that key, and now it's asking for my password, and I am in the switch. I can start running command lines, I can see results and all that good stuff, so I'm good. So SSH has been enabled in the switch. I'm going to try a different switch. I'm going to try all switches, asking for me to accept the RSA key between the switch and my terminal. Hit yes. It's going to ask for my password, and I am on switch 1. Try switch 2. Same thing. Say yes, and I'm going to enter the password. And lastly, switch 3. Yes, and I'm going to enter the password. And I'm in all 4 switches. So SSH has been enabled and it is working. I'll close this tab, and I'm going to type in ls to see the list of scripts that I have available for me to use. So I've already gone through most of them. The next one I'm going to go over is the one that it will show the switch interfaces in the terminal. So I'm going to go ahead and load the script, and then I'm going to run it. It's going to ask for the username and password. Okay, and now that the code executed, it did not ask me to enter the IP addresses. The reason for that is because on the script itself, I hard-coded the IP addresses. So whenever the code is executed, it will automatically know which IP addresses it needs to work on. And as you can see, it lists all the IP addresses in an ascending order from 1 through 4, since I only have 4 switches in my topology. So the users at this point, they can select which switch they want to work with. So let's say the user wants to see the switch information on the first switch that is listed, which will be 100. So typing number 1, hit enter, and it will give you the options to see all the switch statuses inside that switch. You have all status, connected interfaces, not connected interfaces, disabled or error disabled states. So in this case, I want to see all statuses. I'm going to hit number 1, hit enter. There you go, it's telling me it's logging into the switch. As you can see on the right hand side, it logged in, and it's giving me the information of what the status is on each one of the ports, which in this case makes sense. The IP address of the switch that I'm looking at is 192.168.40.100, which will be the master switch, and it will be the switch right here at the top center. And as you can see, all the other 3 switches are hanging off of this one, so all the interfaces are connected. But now let's say I want to see the interfaces on 101. I go back to my terminal, and after it has shown all the results for the switch, it's going to ask me the question, do you want to run another query? Yes or no. So it's not kicking the user out immediately. It's given the option to say, okay, you want to run this again on the same switch. You have a bunch of connections, but you only want to see the error disabled ones. Then you run the script again, and it will select the switch again, and then you're going to be able to select a specific stage for each switch port. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and select the number 2 switch, which will be the 100 switch, the one on the far left. I want to see all statuses. Number 1, hit enter, and it's telling me the same information. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to log into switch number 1, and I'm going to shut down some ports and then run this script again and see the difference. And you can see here, I shut down ports 1 through 3, and it's giving me the message they're down. So if I go back to my terminal on the left, I'm going to select number 1 to run the script again. And I'm going to select the second switch in the list, which is 101. Hit enter. And now if I select number 1 to see all the switch status, it's going to show that only 1 is connected and the other 3 are disabled, which is what I would expect to see. Right, so I'm going to run it again, and in this case I'm going to select the second switch in the list, which is 101, and I'm going to look for only the ports that are disabled. So I'm going to select number 4 in the list, hit enter, and that's it. It's showing me only the disabled ports in the switch. As you can see, you can select which port status you want to see. If you're troubleshooting something and you only want to focus on a specific problem, you can select the switch port and see only the results you want to see to help you troubleshoot the issue faster. Okay, and now that we have seen the script in action, we have tested to make sure it filters the information according to the options it gives the user. Let's move on to a more advanced script, and that is going to be the one that will allow the user to automate the creation of VLANs in switches. The last script in this series will help you automate the process to create VLANs in switches. With this script, the user will have the option to either type the unique VLAN number they wants to create, or the script can randomly select a VLAN number for them. I'll show you both ways. Alright, to begin with, I'm going to clear the screen. And I'm going to type ls, and the script that I am looking for is this one right here, VLAN creation.sh. So I'm going to go ahead and load this script. And now that it's loaded, I'm going to go ahead and run it. Enter the username and password, and it's going to ask for the switch IP address. I can enter up to 50 IP addresses in this list. So I'm going to use the IP addresses in the file that I created earlier. I want to copy those, paste them, and now hit enter again. And as you can see, it starts by asking me the name I want to give this VLAN. So I'm going to type in test 1 to name the new VLAN. The script is going to automatically create for us. So once I type the name, I click enter. And now it's asking me if I want to assign a unique VLAN number or if I want the script to select a random number for me. I'm going to go ahead with random first. So I'm going to select number 2, hit enter. And the random number assigned for this first VLAN is 3197. Right, next it's going to ask me for the IP address range I want to give this VLAN. So I'm going to do 192.168.50.1 and the subnet mask of 255.255.255.0. Hit enter. And as you can see, it's going through the switches, logging in, creating the VLAN number. So this is on the master switch. This is on switch 1, switch 2, and switch 3. Now if I go back to the master switch, and it's right there, and we can see that only the one new VLAN that we created is showing in the list of internal VLANs for the switch. So let's go ahead and create another one. In this case, I'm going to manually enter the VLAN number. So I'm going to run the script again, username and password. And now I'm going to bring my list of switches back up. I'm going to copy all, paste them, hit enter, and it's going to ask for the VLAN name. So the new VLAN I'm going to create, I'm going to call it selected by me. Enter. And now I'm going to select number 1, and the VLAN number is going to be 7. And before I hit enter, I'm going to take my notepad out of the window so you can see when the script logs into the switch and creates a new VLAN. And hit enter. The IP address 192.168.60.1.255.255.255.0. Enter. And it's logging into the switches. You can see it's creating the new VLAN on them, VLAN number 7. Alright, so I'm going to run a show VLAN brief again, and VLAN 7 should show up here in this VLAN list. And there we are. The new VLAN 7 that we call selected by me has been created and is active in the switch. So now I have created 2 of them, 7 and 3197. And that is it, folks. Those are the examples I wanted to go over in this lab series to show how network automation can be done using Bash programming.